everybody. Thank you for coming back to your seats. I'm pleased to be joined in a second by Ryan Breslow. If any of you have been in an airport in the last 24 hours and passed the newsstand, he is on the cover of Forbes' new Billionaires issue. He runs a company called Bolt Financial down in Miami, which is a one-stop checkout company. And in Silicon Valley, he is either viewed as an ambitious young founder or a giant pain in the ass. Ryan, join us. So, Ryan, I want to start with this because there's actually been breaking news in the last 30 or 40 minutes. This is almost the opposite of what's next. This is more like what's past. One of your top competitors, or at least on the startup side, a company called Fast, which you have had some back and forth with on Twitter, announced it is going out of business. Your reaction to Fast going slow?
Well, we went a little bit faster. I think, my take on this whole situation is, they got a lot of funding, and we had been in business for a lot longer. I've been doing this about 6 years. And
we should say, and you guys are like one-stop checkout, kind of what Amazon is on Amazon, but for the vast majority of companies that aren't Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. We do this native one-click checkout. It's not another button. We take over the full checkout experience end to end. So we're the first bona fide checkout company. But they were, very helpful for us in terms of helping make this a category. Because whenever we'd say we're doing checkout, no one would understand it. So competition was actually the best thing that happened to us.
We will get back into the company specifically in a bit. But one of the things that you are best known for is this idea of conscious culture, which is something you've instilled at Bolt. What is conscious culture?
So I spent a lot of time thinking about culture and made a ton of mistakes, just like every mistake possible. And, was racking my head against the wall with our team, and we're like, what is the best possible culture? And we realized it was two things. One is a high-performance culture, right? You're building a business, you need to execute. But number two is a humane culture, where you're respecting the humanity of the people working with you, and people can have fun and have joy at your company. And so conscious culture is all about bridging execution with humanity. It's respecting the performance attributes of the business, but also for those who perform, like treating them really well.
So practically speaking, so if I'm a Bolt employee, what does that actually mean for me? When I sit at the bar and I say, oh yeah, I saw Ryan on TV talk, conscious culture, how does that help you?
Yeah, there's a lot. We have a whole playbook on conscious.org, which goes through in depth, but some examples, one of which is how we do feedback. Most companies are in the dark for 6 months and you get feedback, and we give written feedback at least once a month to our team, and we let them give it to their managers. And we force constructive feedback, so it can't all just be positive. And so this is making our workplace more conscious about how they're performing, or we're giving them that feedback. It takes real work for managers and real work for the employees to ingest and give their managers feedback. So how we do feedback is one component. Another is our approach towards meetings. We say, you need to be just as conscious about your time as the founder or executives are, and so don't attend meetings if you're not needed. Speak up if you think a meeting is useless. Right? Do stuff in writing if it can be done in writing versus being unconsciously going through the motions in meetings. We have this.
You've called it like work theater, I think is the term you used, right?
Work theater is what I use. So I think American business, or business around the world, is infected by this virus of work theater, which is where people care more about how they look working than impact.
So one of the other things you've done, of course, is the 4-day work week, which
Yes.
you have evangelized for, and you've actually instituted at Bolt. A little history here. Why did you come to the idea that a 4-day work week was superior to the 5-day work week?
Well, we had people burning out left and right. When COVID hit, we're like, oh, people aren't going to work as hard. They're working at home. It was the opposite. They were working so hard, and they were burning out. And we were trying to coach people on how to create more balance. And then we start giving wellness days. Like, we'd sprint really hard. Like, we need a wellness day. Every week we're doing wellness days. And we did like 3 weeks in a row. And then at one point I'm like, why don't we just do a 4-day work week?
Well, I mean, isn't the answer less productivity? And I say this for at the time you were CEO, now you're executive chairman. I mean, that would be the normal answer from someone in your position, right?
Right. And we found the exact opposite is true. People are way more conscious and deliberate about how they spend their time. There's far less work theater. They may work on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday a little bit, do some catch-up work, but it's better than what they're doing previously, which is, 5 days of working like a zombie and then trying to catch up on a Sunday and never really feeling they have a mastery over their work. And 4-day work week has done miracles for our culture.
Why not 3-day work week?
That's a good question.
What's the answer? What's the answer? Because if these people are on average working 80% of what they worked before, why not 60? They'd probably be happier.
Well, it should be a 0-day work. It shouldn't matter how many days you're working. As long as you get the job done. Another thing that we do at Bolt is we realize that people working on all these things that we didn't even want them to work on, right? I'm sure we've all experienced that in our workplace. So everyone has 3 goals that they have to deliver to the company. If you're an IC or a manager or leader, and we don't really talk about anything else. And so we don't care if you get those 3 things done by working 3 hours a day or 6 or 10, as long as you get it done.
One of the other things you've done, interestingly, is you have, and this is something that, I've written a little bit about this and said I think you're wrong, so I want to hear you kind of defend it here, is you, like a lot of startups, employees get options, stock options in the company that they could eventually cash in on if the company's bought or the company goes public. But there's some tax implications if you wait until the day the company goes public or the company sells. So you're letting people exercise their stock options earlier, and one of the ways you're helping them afford to do that is giving them loans from the company, which they're not non-recourse loans. They would owe the company money if the thing was underwater. Why is that not potentially putting hundreds, if not thousands, of your employees in debt to your company?
Because the inspiration for this was, I would want this if I'm joining a company, right? And so I believe in treating your employees like you want to be treated.
But you'd want a lot of things. You'd want a free car and a plane and $1 million salary. There's lots of things you'd want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was hard to put into place, right? And so we did it the right way. We did, legal tender offer. We got people financial guidance. We gave them stipends to do so. We exposed them to all the risks of the business. And we said, hey, if you want to take out a loan to exercise early, get all the tax advantages, you're going to take the risk that if the company goes down, you are on the hook for that loan, but you can capture more upside. And we have very smart people who are making a lot of money. We have tech workers who can make decisions like this responsibly. And I believe we should empower them to make these decisions. Moreover, what most folks don't realize is that in private companies, earlier stages, you have a split between your preferred price and your 409A. So the employee has coverage there, and that could be up to 5x. Even at Bolt, it's been up to 5x. So the company, at any point in time you're taking out a loan, you have 5x coverage. So there is, I think, I would want this if I were in their shoes.
You know that it's illegal for a publicly traded company to do this, in part for this very reason of the potential of employees getting in trouble. Do you think that rule should get rescinded for publicly traded companies?
Well, I think privately traded companies have a lot of limitations on financings. And in a publicly traded company, you get stock,
sure,
right? So it's not an option. So it's kind of apples to oranges. And you could get financing against that stock. It's treated like a liquid asset. In a private company, you can't get financing against that stock, which is another thing I think needs to be solved.
A phrase you've used about conscious culture is work like a lion. What does that mean?
It means to work with a high degree of intensity in achieving important outcomes with little regard for work theater and outcomes over everything, right? I like to work like a lion. When I'm working, I'm focused, I'm present, I'm attentive. If you're calling for a meeting with me, you better be prepared, know what you're asking for, know what we're discussing, right? And and it shouldn't just be for me as a founder. Right? Everyone in the company should work like a lion. And I think if you do that, you actually don't get burnt out as much. Because burnout comes from being drained of your energy, right? So if you're working in a passionate way, it actually gives you more energy. And then when you're not working, you've got everything done, right? You have time for your family and your kids and other things in your life.
I'm wondering, obviously lots of people at Bolt now work remotely like so many people do, but there are a lot of people, I think, who feel that some of the in-office culture stuff, just the chit-chatting at the water cooler, not necessarily about work, just about your day, it's not family per se, but those are friends, and then there is inherent value in that. Do you disagree with that?
No, I don't think you need to be there 5 days a week to chit-chat at the water cooler, right? You can have a workplace, it's a shared workplace that's optional to go to, that for the people who want to chit-chat at the water cooler, they can go. Some people don't want to chit-chat at the water cooler. They want to do their work, and they want to, go on hikes on the weekend or, whatever.
What is your greatest distraction that makes it harder to work like a lion?
I've eliminated most of those from my life.
Including, you don't drink coffee, is that right? And you
No
expect
coffee.
people to trust you, all of these people to trust you.
I tell people, you think you need coffee, look at me. Right? Every meeting, I'm very engaged, high energy. It's because I don't drink coffee, not because I do.
I don't even know how to respond to that. How often do you, do you have, you probably actually know, how many hours a week do you work?
I don't know.
You don't know? How many
I kind
days
of
a week do you
flow
work?
in and out.
And on average?
How many days a week do I work?
Yeah.
I only put meetings on my calendar 4 days a week.
Okay.
And then the other 3 days, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's much more. As a founder, you have to work more sometimes, and you have to be always on. But I try to stay balanced and always reset.
So let's talk about the industry a bit. So again, just to reset, it's this one-stop checkout. The skeptics of companies like Bolt, well, they say a lot of things, but one of the things they'll say are Apple and Android/Google already do this very well via Apple Pay or Android Pay. Why do we need you? Why do we need you?
So there's a lot of confusion in the checkout space. That was the opportunity for Bolt. We had a very simple insight. You go on Amazon, you have a one-click, delightful, instant experience. Go anywhere else, and you don't.
Yeah.
And so that's the basic premise, right? I don't care who else is in this space. Nobody solved this problem. And so the way we solve this problem is by not being another button. Because a button needs you to keep your info up to date with that button, remember your password to that button, you click something else. So you have this NASCAR effect on checkout, where all the biggest brands in the world are trying to compete for you to click their button. And vast majority of shoppers are just clicking the normal checkout. And so we are the first company to platformize, I think it's a new word, the normal checkout. And so we run your checkout. At the end of checkout, there's an opt-in box to create an account, it's default checked. You go through that, you keep it checked, you now have a Bolt account. When we see you at the next Bolt merchant, if we recognize your cookie, email, or phone, we prompt you, you already have an account, we log you in with a one-time code, and now you have that one-click experience. So it just works like magic, no change in consumer behavior, it's the normal checkout flow.
Do you feel, let me say this best. There's this perception, and I think partially driven by you, that you guys had, revenue was relatively modest last year, at least based on the Forbes story, like $40-something million, but that there's about to be this massive surge this year. Is that legitimate, and can you give us some sort of multiple sense of what that surge you expect it to be?
Yes, it's enormous. I mean, I basically locked myself in a room last year and just closed deals, all day. Like
you shouldn't lock a lion in a room.
Yeah, exactly. Just worked like a lion. Closed an unfathomable amount of deals. 14 months ago, we were a $450 million company. We raised 4 rounds. Last round was $11 billion.
Does that worry you a little bit? Because Fast was a $900 million company yesterday, and today they're out of business.
Right. Well, they were a $900 million company like a year ago or more, right?
But now they're a $0 million company.
So what we've done is every quarter, we've dramatically exceeded the last quarter in terms of deal signing. So what investors are buying with Bolt is they're buying our book of signed deals. And these are very large, gargantuan deals that have tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue impact because of the volume that they bring to our checkout that are mostly rolling out this year and some into next year.
As a piece of that, you guys, it's interesting because you were part of the Stanford Bitcoin Club while you were briefly at Stanford. What role does crypto play in Bolt on the payment side? Because it's one of the things that you've said in the past is you realized very quickly that at the time Bitcoin per se was very tricky for purchases because it's so volatile. What role does crypto play in Bolt?
It's going to play a big role. So we might have an announcement coming out this week.
You want to share it now?
It's going to be a big announcement. The long and short of it is we're going to do everything crypto when it comes to commerce. Anything you need, merchant needs, NFTs, crypto, one click, making everything one click, super easy. And this was the original vision for Bolt, actually. What people don't realize, this first year, this is what I worked on.
So what's changed? Because the volatility is still there.
Volatility's there, but the use cases are there now too. So, people are using crypto to buy NFTs and participate in games and just are purchasing things. And so we now have, every retailer in our network wants to sell NFTs with their products and just doesn't know how to do it. And the consumer doesn't know how to do it either. And so we can be this really amazing bridge.
Do you own any NFTs personally?
I own some NFTs, yeah.
And you know this, there is this kind of split among tech people, and you see this mostly play out on Twitter, which is either, Web3, generically speaking, is the future of technology. It's the next major paradigm change, or a lot of kind of the Web2 folks, including folks like Aaron Levy of Box, say, no, there's nothing Web3 does better than what we already, not necessarily than what we already have, but by the current architecture. Are those folks wrong? And if they are, what does Web3 do better? Because right now it is slower and more expensive.
Yes, they're entirely wrong. So I think Web3 is the future of everything. I think that inherently Web2 and kind of traditional businesses require extraordinary overhead. The middlemen make all the money, and those middlemen are not necessary with decentralization. So I think what we're going to see with Web3 and DAOs in particular is platforms that do the same thing that Web2 companies do, where middlemen reap all the profits, and they're going to distribute all the profits to the creators, and there's going to be no more need for those middlemen.
There's going to be no more need for those middlemen. I should also, this is the moment where I'm supposed to plug, Axios has a new crypto newsletter. You should sign up. It's in my notes. I'm supposed to say that. You are, as I said in the open, you are on the cover of Forbes as of yesterday. What do you think about that? I guess I'm asking really you walk through the airport, I guess maybe this morning or today, and you see yourself there. Given some of the stuff you've talked about kind of conscious culture, et cetera, is it a little weird to now be the poster boy for 20-something-year-old billionaires?
I don't see money as a bad thing. I think it depends what you do with it, right? So for me, I intend to give as much of my money away in ways that help people out as possible. A year ago, I started a foundation that sets up community dance classes. I love dance. It's changed my life. I think if you teach someone to dance, they can't become a bad person later. So seriously. So we teach people how to dance, do free community dance classes, after-school dance classes, so kids aren't on their phones or learning how to dance. And we've taught almost 30,000 students how to dance. And I'm working on multiple projects around green technology and the environment, and so more of those will be announced soon.
I have 40 seconds. I've been told to leave directly at 0, so this is now going to be on you. You've talked about valuation. The company was valued at $11 billion. I know you were trying to close a new round by the end of February that would value you at $14 billion. Did you?
We did not, because we're going to do something even bigger and better.
Something bigger and better. Ryan, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate it.